G'day fellas, so good news. We've got the very first update for Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition. Now we did have a day 1 update, but this is the first true update that isn't just hot fixes. So we're going to be running through that and seeing what they changed, whether there's good changes or bad changes. Ideally I'm more interested in the balance changes more than anything, because that's the thing that I do most. So look, we'll read through and we'll see what we find. So just before we do get into it, a lot of you guys have been asking for me to create a Discord. I have gone ahead and created that Discord. If you're interested in joining that, the link can be found in the description of this video. Let's get on with it. So starting with the game. So stability and performance. Fixed an issue where the game would not be able to read special characters, emojis. Big change. Love that. Fixed an issue which would cause the UI to become unresponsive after reporting a game lobby. I'm not sure how many game lobbies were reported, but nonetheless, it's a good change. Fixed a rare issue that would cause non-host players to be disconnected at the start of a multiplayer match. Fixed certain desyncs when loading a match. These two are absolutely amazing. It's great that they're fixing this early. Normally, something like this can take a while to find, so it's really good that they've found it. Achievements. The Strike achievement can now be unlocked in custom scenarios. There you go, fellas. So we've got a number of graphics changes. I'm just going to skim through these. Doesn't appear to be anything major. I'm just hoping that generally you can expect to see a higher FPS as a consequence of these changes. Alright, UI, let's have a look at this one. Garrisoned units in allied structures will now properly display the color of the owning player instead of the building's owner. Okay. Alright, we're gonna skip over the UI. There doesn't appear to be too many big changes to the UI. It's mainly just little bug fixes, changes to the icons and things like that. So we'll move down to settings. Added anti-aliasing options to the graphics settings menu. Now this is a really, really interesting thing because I was actually going to be making a video on this and why it was so important to be downloading a mod that increased the clarity of your game. But now it looks like you're going to be able to do that within the in-game menu. By the addition of them including no anti-aliasing, I'm suspecting that you're going to be able to go into a game and you're going to be able to have not a single problem. So we'll have a look. Anti-aliasing. Let's go none, and let's have a look what our units look like. So essentially what we should be seeing is a more clear unit, and it's not just our... Oh, that is so beautiful. Look at that. Look at the deer. Look at the way that it renders. Sorry, that's a moose. I apologize to all my Canadian friends. The way that it renders, the outline of it is significantly clearer. Oh, that is such a wonderful change. All right, that is really good to see. Now, we've got some more changes coming up with the Swedes, I'm aware, so we might stick this one around. I'll Alt-Tab back out now, and let's have a look what else they've fixed. So they've increased the max frame rate limit to prevent artificially capping them just below the monitor refresh rate, so that's a really good change. Frames no longer throttled when VSync is enabled. Another great change. Restoring defaults now properly resets the windowed mode to full screen, sure. And added the legacy hotkey to set the no formation stance for aquatic vessels. That's a really, really good change. No formation stance for aquatic vessels. With boats, so they never used to have a formation. And as a consequence, it would mean that if you selected 5 caravels and you right-clicked onto the other side of the map, what would happen is they'd all individually make their way over there. They wouldn't need to get into formation, which meant that you got units as quickly as possible over there. But now they all sort of wait for each other. So the fact that you're able to set a hotkey for no formation for the legacy, that's a big help for them. All right, and moving on to gameplay. The population cap will no longer prevent queued units from spawning. It will only prevent new units from being added to the game. This allows for overpopping. Okay, so those who aren't aware, there was huge changes to the way that population worked in the beta. Fortunately, they reverted it back to the way of the original Age of Empires 3, but a couple of things were left over, and this was one of the things. So fortunately, they've gone and they've fixed this now. This is a really good change. It sort of continues that traditional mindset from the Age of Empires 3 game, where you were able to queue up, 25 skirmishers in your barracks, and then do a shipment of let's say Mamelukes, 4 Mamelukes, 16 population, and you were able to overpop. So it enables you to do that, because now what happened was as soon as those Mamelukes were queued, your skirmishers would just sit in the barracks and say, we can't be finished, we can't be finished. Alright, so the next thing is fixing an issue with the tribal marketplace to exhaust a mine converted from one player to another. Now, I really haven't had a lot to do with the tribal marketplace yet. All I understand about it is that it's to do with the native civilizations. So that might be something that we have to go visit, but it's good to see that they're fixing problems. And let's move down. So we're going to skip over the campaign. I know a lot of people do enjoy playing the campaign, but for me, it's something that I've never really been a fan of. I've more been interested in crushing my real-life enemies than the AI. So here we are. The most important part of the notes. Civilization balance. So the treasure. A crate of plums worth 60 food guarded by one lion now grants 50 food. Now that's a wonderful change. I often would see that treasure. I'd be like, wait, 60 food by one lion? That's huge. And I just go over there and just snag it immediately. So, you know, it's important to bring that line with it, what you're expecting a treasure to look like. And it's great that they're able to do that for balance. The second thing is the mango grove. So the line of sight has been reduced from 12 tiles to 1 tile. So, alright, so the settler wagon, they've corrected the collection rate for the Swedish fish crate from 20 to 16. Alright, that was very needed. I'm glad that they've done that. Bring it in line with everything else. The Finnish Revolution reduced the 6 block house wagon card to 5 block houses. I haven't had much to do with the revolutions yet, so I'll be honest. I really don't know what the balance of the Finnish Revolution is like, but, you know, going from 6 to 5, sure, it's a small change, but I'm sure that those Finnish revolutions will feel it. The Spanish Team Archaic Soldier Training card now improves the Old Hand Army training time by 30% and improves the Ming and Standard armies by 15%. Okay, so they've just fixed a bug that reduced the training time for the Chinese in team games. All right, now let's have a look. The Canada Revolution has now the following benefits. Removes the pet bear build limit. As a result, the 7 grizzly bear pet can be sent repeatedly. It removes the pet bear malice versus all villagers and increases their damage to villagers from 13 to 17. All right, so now you've got, if you revolt to Canada, you've got these bears that kill enemy villagers. It's interesting. It's playing into the real world mechanics here, and that's what I like to see. You know, we're being true to the real world. All right, that's good to see. Let's move on. What are the general bug fixes that we've got here? So we've got the Torp having a cost decrease by 5 wood. So it's interesting that that's a bug fix, not a balance fix. But the Torp is 120 wood. Now, in the beginning of any release, balance is really difficult to determine. You sort of have to go off your gut feeling. But my gut feeling was that Sweden in particular didn't need any more help. They were doing absolutely fine. While this 5 wood might not seem like a huge reduction, it is. It's massive. So think about how long it takes for you to chop 5 wood in the early game. So let's just jump in. We'll jump into a skirmish right now. We're going Sweden. We'll put it back to medium. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all my villages, and I'm just going to put one guy on wood. All right? And we're just going to watch how long it takes. All right? You're the chosen one, buddy. All right, so we're going to just start at 10 seconds. That's when we're going to start chopping. Boom, go. And we wait patiently. All right, there you go. 22 seconds. So we started at 10, so 12 seconds. Essentially, you've just saved 12 villager seconds for every single torp that you've got. So that means when you start off with 200 wood, and you're saying, all right, well, I want to, get enough wood to make a second torp. Instead of having to mine or to chop 40 wood now, you're only going to have to chop 30 wood. And that is a huge difference. Just there we saw 12 seconds. So you're now looking at 24 seconds that a single villager can be gathering food. And a villager gathering at 0.84 over 24 seconds, you're looking at more than 20 food. So it's going to really reduce your age up time. It might only be by a second or two, but it makes all the difference. When we're talking at a competitive level where everyone's min-maxing, that's a massive change. That's a huge buff to Sweden. It's going to see their early game strength just go through the roof. So the next change is also for Sweden. So they've reduced the amount of food contained in the accompanying berry bush by 50. All right, so let's have a look and see how much that makes. We'll just turn on some cheats here. Oh. There we go. All right, we'll get that torp up and running. We'll put on a few other cheats. Alright, so now we've got a berry bush that's only 150. So the torp gathers at 20 food per second. 20 food per minute from this, meaning that that's going to last 7.5 minutes.
Hello.
The next thing... So what that really does, in my mind, is that just makes blueberries even stronger. So let's see if they've changed blueberries. No, still spawns with 500. Blueberries is just... You got to be going blueberries. There's no way. I mean, when you think about it, you got 20 torps that are all in these little berry bushes right here for 7.5 minutes. But then you've just got these absolute mad dogs over here. It's, 490. Look at that. That's just... Alright. Let's move on to the next part of the patch notes. Carolean. Increases the rate of fire of the ranged attack by 0.5. Damage adjusted accordingly. So does that mean that if they're increasing the rate of fire, that means it's taking longer for it to fire? So once again, we'll jump in. We'll make it a death match so it's easier. And we'll go Industrial Age.
Ja, snickare, snickare.
Oh, they've increased his attack. Look at that. Alright, let's get him to attack something. Yeah, come down here, buddy. Why is he so slow? Oh yeah, look at that. He takes a lot longer now. Oh, wait, no. I can't tell. Is it faster? Is it slower? They did say they've... What did they say? They said they increased the rate of fire. Well, I haven't increased it enough. The tiger still beats him. To me, it actually seemed like he shoots faster. But if I remember correctly... I don't remember Caroleans having only 19 damage. I thought it was lower than that. I thought it was only 16 or so. And... Alright, there he is. Alright, get him, boys. They're so slow. Alright, we're not gonna micro against them. We'll just pause it. We'll jump back in. Alright, so priestesses can no longer convert villagers. That sucks. That was really the only thing they were useful for, so they just take absolutely way too long to convert, and as a consequence they're really not useful. But for villagers they actually work, because you could just ship a priestess in age 1 and you could go raid the enemy. And then the Hurricana range increased by 1. That's a good change. The Inca have a lot of difficulty with their range, so it's good to see that. They've obviously got no artillery, they've got no falconets, they don't have any arrow knights like the Aztecs get. So this increase, it's going to help them a lot in the mid game. Alright, now additional fixes. Fixed an issue which prevented certain villages, the Cour de Bois, from constructing town centres. That is great. If they couldn't do that before, that would really suck. And settler wagons, God, they're gonna build town centres so fast. Mortar. The barrage attack now correctly deals 0.5 to shock infantry and 0.1 to arrow knights. That's interesting. 0.1 to arrow knights. I guess because because they're artillery? Is that why? Okay. Small change, but a goodie. Consulate corrected the health of the Kapska Ulan from 180 to 190. Okay, so yeah, that's how much health the Ulans used to have, but they decided to increase it to 190 because the Ulan is a beta unit, but they just wanted to make it a little less beta. Shaolin, all right, sure. Lakota TP auras now have the same range. Oh, that's good. A visible ring has been added to indicate that range. That is a really good change. When you can put visible UI elements over the top of the game to indicate you know, how far a certain thing exists. That's a really, really good change. Instead of letting players have to work it out, like as an example for the torp, having to work out all those things for the torp, it's really, really difficult. That took me, you know, 4 to 5 hours of testing to work all those individual things out. So the fact that they've done this, that's a great indicator. And they've corrected the damage cap value from 96 to 100 for the galleon. So I don't know exactly what that means. So I can't really comment. All right, moving on. So Incans, bug fixes. Yeah, they're a buggy race, aren't they? A buggy civilization. Probably. Let's go with civilization. It is 2020. All right. Adjusted the 1.6 shock infantry multiplier of the Bolus Warrior's ranged attack. So it now deals 1.6 to units with Abstract's Coyote Man tag. See exist. Oh, is that existing? Okay, I don't understand what that bug fix does. It probably means that they just weren't picking up a bonus against a certain unit, so it's just increased how strong they are. The Inca now have an estate build limit of 20. Wonderful. The limit to maximum coin income granted by the Coca Cultivation Big Button improvement. Okay, so what was happening in Inca games is that people were just building a whole bunch of estates. When it got to late game, you could just build estates all over the map, and because they had a trickle of 1 coin income per second, you were essentially getting infinite coin per second, and you'd build up this absolutely giant economy. And now they've limited the build to 20, so it's still quite high. You know, 20 coin per second. That's about 3 factories worth of estates. So that is absolutely still a massive late game bonus. So, you know, for Incas, you're going to have 13 of your houses, you're going to have 99 settlers or villages, and then you're going to have 20 estates. So really, really big economy late game. All right, so moving on, we've got the Chimu Runner attack reduced from 21 to 20, but it now deals 1.5 to artillery units. That's a really good change. The Chimu Runners are very strong. And they were probably deserving of a nerf. It's good to see that it's come out of their attack instead of from their speed, because it's important that they maintain their unit identity, and that's probably the best way to do it. The Chincha Raft. Now, these are the little boats. I don't actually know too much about these boats. I haven't really looked into the Incas a lot, to be honest. But another change. The Hurricana are no longer tagged as artillery. They've removed the 0.75 artillery multiplier. That's great. So they're doing more damage to artillery, and they've obviously increased their attack range. The Cancha, the construction time is reduced from 20 seconds to 15. Okay, interesting buff. Cancha House, Queen's Festival Big Button has been moved from age 2 to age 1. Queen's House Big Button, Queen's Festival. Isn't that the 4 settlers? What are they implying right here? Are they saying that I can get a 4 settler shipment in age 1? That's what they're totally doing, aren't they? I don't know how tangible this is going to be. Let's find out though. Oh. Yeah, it is. All right, I guess that sort of remains as a theory, or a way to theory craft. Because one of the things I want to talk about with Inca is that the first shipment that you're going to be going... Oh, okay, don't look at my deck here. The first shipment that you're going to be taking as Inca is the 2 fattened llamas. Now, 2 fattened llamas is going to give you 800 food. So if we go in here and have a look. So you get 2 fattened llamas. Now, because they're 800 food and because they gather incredibly quickly, you're incentivized not to be gathering food until you receive your fattened llamas, which means that you can be doing other things with your villages in the meantime. So something that a lot of people will do is they'll just put their settlers on wood and have them gathering, and they'll be building a Cancha house. But this creates a new option. So that's something that I'm going to have to do some testing on. I'm going to have to check and see whether it's viable. But I think by moving it to the first stage, they're definitely saying, hey guys, check this out. So let's have a look. We'll have a look at that one in the future. Alright, so the Priestess increased damage dealt to Treasure Guardians from 1 to 3. Well, that's a good change. The Priestess at the moment, very, very weak. It's nowhere near as strong as the one that the Aztecs get. So, you know, that's a positive change. Anything that they can do to make the Priestess, you know, more viable, it's a good change. War Chief, reduce the time to construct strongholds from 60 seconds to 40 seconds. Travail rate of construction is unchanged. Okay, that's great. One of the first things I noticed about the War Chief building a stronghold is it takes forever. So if you want to get a little sneaky stronghold down in the corner of the map, good luck to you, mate. You're not going to do it with the War Chief. You're going to have to use a Travail. Alright, Chimu support has been moved from age 4 to age 3. Chimu support hit points improvement reduced from 20 to 15. So it's a buff, but it's a nerf at the same time. So that is that's obviously the increase to the. Let's have a look. Chimu support. Where are we? There we are. That's a lot of Chimu runners when you think about it. 16 Chimu runners for 1,000 coin. That's yeah. I mean, well, all of these cards you're going to be including in your deck anyway. All of the unit upgrades, but the fact that that comes in age 3 now, it's yeah, it's not a bad thing. Alright, so next changes to Imperial Unity. So it reduces the cost and delivery time of natives and support shipments, which can be sent infinite times by 25%. So it's down from 50%. Alright, so they've given that one a nerf. I never actually used this card, so I'm not sure what the balance of it was like, but obviously it seems like it was a little bit too strong. Resettlements now also adds +1 to the town center build limit, so we'll go check on what resettlements is. I don't actually recognize the name of the card. I'm assuming it's not. No, it's not that one. I've got no idea what resettlements is. It might be one of those. I can't think of what else it would be. What else would be affecting the town center limit? Resettlements. There you go. Ah, that's why. Man, they're just going to be an economic power. Oh my lord. So they can get more town centers now? Check this out. Alright. So you age up, you've got 1 town center. There's your 2nd town center. Then you get 2 more naturally. 3rd and 4th town center. 5th and 6th town center. 7th town center. And then when you hit Imperial, 8 and 9 town centers. You know, that... Whew. If you like training villages, you are going to love the Inca. Alright, road building. Oh, no. Decrease the granted speed improvement from 15 to 10%. Oh. Oh, geez, that's tough. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. Road building. So road building was the card that you took in age 2 for the Inca. Normally this was the 2nd or the 3rd card that you took here, road building. It increased the speed of your Chimu runners and everything else, but mainly you wanted it for your Chimu runners just because it made them go... that you could outrun Hussar. You could outrun anything with this. But I don't think you're going to be able to outrun it anymore. Let's maybe just jump into a quick game. We'll see just how fast these bad boys can go. But my suspicion is they're probably going to be able to outrun a Hussar still. It's just not going to be as quickly as what they were able to before. Alright, so they've got a 6.5 base. And then... now it's up to 7.15. So they're still going to be able to outrun all your cavalry. So if we go jump into a game and let's have a look, we'll load up, say, the French. So we're going to do the same thing for the French. We'll have a look how fast their cavalry are. So you got 7.25, 6.25, and 6.75. So they're going to be able to outrun the Hussar in the second age. The Cuirassier is never going to catch them. The Dragoon are going to be faster than them. But because it's 7.25 versus, what was it, 7.15, it's still going to be, they're still going to be able to run away. They're not going to have any problems there. Alright. Team Incan Bridges. the speed bonus now no longer applies to shock infantry. Oh my lord, they've nerfed the Chimu Runner into the ground. This really takes Aztec down, because Aztec were Inca. Inca were really a civilization that I hadn't explored yet, but I was aware of their power. And what was concerning was the fact that they had such fast units. So it increases the infantry's time. These are some pretty big balance changes that we're looking at now for the Inca. It means that you're not going to see anywhere near as potent Inca as before. So if you've come across one of those Inca players that's just spammed Chimu Runners, so 6.5, 7.15, that's it. It doesn't affect it anymore. It'll still affect your setons and your plumes. Look at that, 5.18 on the seton, 5.75 on the plumed. So still incredibly quick. Like that's a really quick spearman. But your Chimu Runners, 7.15, that's the cap. No longer going to have these 8 movement speed Chimu Runners running around killing your settlers. That's a good change, honestly. If you've had to deal with those early game, you'll know just how painful they are. So, and then we've got the Quipu Kamayuks, which now improves Chasqui speed by 15%, which previously just granted +2 speed. So the problem with giving something just +2 speed is it's a raw bonus. So it's a huge amount, and obviously it's a good change. The Chasqui is already incredibly quick. +2 speed just would have made it terrible. So let's move on. We'll continue having a look. So the Indians, the card. So this was something that I did want to talk about, but I knew that they'd be focused on it. So the card Royal Green Jackets for the Indians. It is a card designed to give the Indians the equivalent of the counter infantry rifling upgrade, which is a bonus that infantry or ranged infantry, light infantry, get against heavy infantry. So that's the skirmisher against the musket, that's the cazadora against the pikeman. And what it did was it actually gave them that bonus, but it also gave them a ×2 bonus against all units. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say all units, all infantry units. So it meant that if you were in a skirmisher war against an Indian who had trained a Gurkha and shipped this card, their Gurkha was going to be doing ×2 damage to your skirmisher, and it was going to be doing ×6 damage against your musketeer. So the bonuses did stack together, which meant that you could get the ×2 bonus and the ×3 bonus, and you'd have a ×6 bonus against those musketeers. So it's wonderful to see that this has been fixed. This was a game-breaking bug for the Indians, and I'm glad that they've done that. So moving on to the Portuguese. Corrected the cost of villages from 85 food to 100. This increased cost was intended to account for their +5% hunting and berry collection speed granted by their civilization bonus. That's very interesting. The suspicion was that they were going to keep the cost of villages at 85 food, but remove the hunting and berry collection. One of the reasons why I haven't actually spoken about the Portuguese yet is because of this bug. So the Portuguese, in my mind, were a top tier civ. They were number one, and they were number one by far. And the reason why was because of this hunting and berry collection speed bonus. Essentially, what it meant as a Portuguese player, what you could do is, let's jump in and have a look. So they get a 5%. They get a 5% bonus to all of their gathering for food from a huntable. And so what that means is that because your base rate is higher, every upgrade that you get as a consequence has a higher efficiency. So that means that for your market upgrades, like hunting dogs, that means for steel traps, instead of you getting 10% or 5% and 20% from those upgrades, so instead of you getting the 10% and the 20% from those upgrades, you're getting just a little bit more. And while it might not seem like a little bit more at the beginning, when you start to stack cards like Furia and Spice Trade, it creates these absolute monster villages that are pulling in 1.5 food a second. And so it just makes Portuguese have this incredibly strong early game economy. The economy translates into the mid game, and it just means that they've got food to support their entire. It just means they've got food to support everything that they need to do. So my suspicion is that with this change, we're still going to see Portugal as a tier 1 civilization. They are absolutely going to be overpowered still. But that's definitely something I'll be covering in the upcoming video. I'm going to be looking at Portugal, and I'll be looking at them in this patch now. So I'm very surprised that they did go with that change. The 85 food, that was a much more reasonable thing to keep, just because it's only 15 food. It's really not a lot compared to this 5%, which can just, when you're looking at the mid game and you've got 30 settlers on food and they've all got these food gathering upgrades. That's interesting. All right, moving forward. So the Spanish Caballeros reduced the bonus melee range of lances from +2 to +1. So lances were quite strong for the Spanish, so this is a reasonable change. And moving forward, let's have a look at the Swedes' bug fixes. So they replaced the 1.5 cavalry multiplier of the Carolians' ranged attack to accommodate for the changes to their platoon fire. Okay, so 1.5 against heavy cav, 1.5 against light cav, 0.67 against rifle riders. Wait, rifle riders have got their own class now? Similarly, the 1.3 shock infantry multiplier of the Carolians' range attack has been adjusted to the following. Now deals 1.3 times to unit abstract coyote man tag units. Torp wagon, obstruction radius X plus Y reduced from 99 to 75. And veteran hacker pellet now probably says shadow flex set. So these upgrades aren't too big. Oh no. Engelberg's Ironworks now properly improves the Torp's coin collection rate by 150%, as indicated by the tooltip. Previously granted 200%, but erroneously said, okay. Maybe that's why I felt like I had so much coin as Sweden. All right, maybe we will see them drop down a balance tier, just because, Ironworks is a card that you're going to send very, very early, and if they hadn't actually reduced it when they said that they did, no wonder it felt like you had so much coin. All right, so moving up to the first thing, so the Carolians' range attack. Essentially what it's done, it's just changed the rifle rider, bringing it down. So because obviously the rifle rider being a heavy cavalry gets 1.5 times, but then the 0.67 against rifle rider means that you're only doing 1 times. The rifle rider, for anybody who doesn't know, it's from the Sioux, or from the new civilization, the Lakota. So the rifle rider actually counters ranged infantry, heavy infantry, like the Carolian. So here we go. Ranged cavalry that are effective against cavalry, heavy infantry, and artillery. So obviously you don't want two units countering each other, getting bonuses against each other, sort of like the pikeman and the lancer. You want to avoid that just for the rock, paper, scissors mechanic, and it's a reasonable change. All right, let's move on down to lobbies and matchmaking. Players can now invite other players that are on the same platform to their ranked custom lobbies. Oh, wonderful. We're continuing to investigate the possibility of cross-platform invitations for the future. Okay. Fixed an issue where the casual game list would snap back. Oh, wonderful. So, I'm sure you all would have seen that. That was infuriating. You were looking for a game. You said, all right, let me just, I'm in the mood for a 4v4. And you'd scroll down. Oh, isn't it beautiful? And it would just snap you back up to the top. It would go, ugh. And so what you'd have to do is you'd have to start sorting by things. You'd go, all right, let's go for public games on American maps, and then you could see them. Or you'd say Asian maps, or you'd go land maps. And then if it was like this, you'd have to switch it around this way. It was there was a really frustrating bug to deal with, but it's a great thing that they've fixed that. All right, so the second thing is they've fixed an issue where oh no, we've touched on that. So they've disabled spectating for LAN games. I'm not quite sure why that is. Probably to get all the screen cheaters out. Updated the default map for new players to standard maps rather than Amazonia. That is wonderful. That is great. Every single time you'd open up the lobby browser, you'd see people hosting Amazonia. And I'd hate to think that new people were coming into the game and were just leaving that, and they were like, oh, what is this map with water in the middle? I want to go kill my enemy. Alright, restored the missing tech tree button in the multiplayer lobby. Actually, let's have a look at this first one. So we'll jump in and let's host our own game and see if we can invite some friends of ours. I'm not sure if I'll have anybody online at the moment. Where are they? Alright. I'm Grunt's back, fellas. There he is. Let's get him on. There it is. Invite user. That's wonderful to see. Invite user. All right. Hopefully we'll get the option of. Oh, they've included a little ready thing up here as well. Okay. So hopefully we'll get the option very soon to start talking to the people on our friends list. It would be really, really nice to be able to just whisper and have a little bubble come up down the bottom. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully the devs are listening. Added the ability to browse multiplayer lobbies. Oh my lord, they're listening. They're listening. Added custom random map support for multiplayer games. Oh, they're doing work. They are doing work. Implemented several adjustments to the profanity filter based on player feedback. No way. No way. Alright, is there at least an option to turn off the profanity filter? Alright, there doesn't appear to be an option to turn it off yet. That's very curious. That's very 2020 of them. So if we just type in hello, and then we type in hello, what's a profanity? This is hard. I'm an Australian, so we don't really use them a lot. Hello, Dick. I've got a good friend called Dick. It still blocks out hello though. So even if you write a message that's really long and then you say Dick's name at the end of the sentence, it's still going to block you out completely. So yeah, I don't know. Alright, so the next thing is implemented several... Oh, we've already been through that one. Fix an issue which caused the report player dialogue to be unresponsive when open in game. Fix an issue where censored player... Oh, I should probably just jump out. Fix an issue where censored player names would appear in certain areas of the game while properly obfuscated elsewhere. And a whole bunch of AI changes, so it's good. We can see they've increased the overall aggressiveness of the computer-controlled civilizations, and they're not going to revolt in campaign missions. That's important. It's good that you're you're fighting against someone and then they revolt into a different civilization. It's good that they don't do that. All right, moving on. So we've got localization, fixed an issue preventing the game from starting in the system's default language, and fixed an issue which prevented mods. They've also got ongoing investigation. This is okay. So I'm really glad that they've got this and they've included this, because often when you get to the end of the patch, you're like, oh man, they didn't get this. I hope they're aware of it. Let's find out. Stability. Stability is a top concern. They're continuing to investigate issues raised by the community. Wonderful. Casual game lobbies. Continuing to look at improving what information is provided in casual game lobbies, including player stats, to help build out even teams. See, that's interesting. Even if they just added like a little hover over button, kind of like you had in the original, which showed your power rating and your win rate, and I think that was it. It might have also, did it show your games played? Probably not. That would be, that would be wonderful. You could just see, oh, this guy's 7-1 on the ladder. He probably knows what he's doing. The next thing, player bug reports. The team's also working to enter your, okay, that's fine. And more information next week. All right, well, that concludes it. So realistically, this is an absolutely amazing patch. They've fixed a lot of things that were considered broken. The Royal Green Jacket's obviously incredibly broken. The Portuguese, I'm still very concerned by them keeping the 5% hunting and berry collection speed, but it's great to see that their food cost has been increased from 85 to 100. Overall, really, really good patch. I'm very excited about the direction of where Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition is heading. They're obviously paying close attention to it, and it's so wonderful to see that they're getting out these updates. It's been a week and the game's already got its first real update with balance changes. So really, really exciting. Well, that's it for this video. There's a lot of great changes in here. I'm really excited to see them. If you've enjoyed this video, I encourage you to leave a like down below, as I'll be making sure I cover every single patch that comes out in the future. Thank you for watching.